All right, here we are. As of this, I'm recording this at it's September 9th, Saturday, September 9th, 3:33 a.m., which is the devil's hour. Isn't that what they say? Hold on, let me look that up. I remember something about when it's 3:33, like all the smoke alarms start chirping. Um Isn't that right? It's like a 3:33 is there's some significant. I don't know. Isn't there's like a some band that's like they're called like 333 halfway there, and it's like because 666 is the mark of the beast, Satan, and so 333 would be half of that. So I guess it would just be just like the goat legs would be the 333. Just them little goat legs, Satan's goat legs. Oh no, here we go. It's the witching hour in folklore. The witching hour or devil's hour is a time of night that is associated with supernatural events whereby witches, demons, and ghosts are thought to appear and be at their most powerful. Definitions vary and include the hour immediately after midnight and the time between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. The term now has a widespread colloquial and idiomatic usage that is associated with human physiology and behavior to more superstitious phenomena such as luck. So, yeah, I guess that's three 333, the witching hour. I don't know, I can't sleep, so I just been ruminating, been thinking a lot because I spent a lot of time in the psych ward, and it's a traumatic experience because the idea is nice. The idea of a psych ward is nice, that there's a safe place that one can go to should one be mentally unwell and a potential harm to themselves or others. However, once you're actually in a psych ward, it doesn't feel like the place is designed in any way to make you feel better or sane. It feels like the entire structure and the way the place is designed and operated is meant to make you go more crazy than you ever have in your life. They put you in a building in a like a wing of a building, and you have your own little dorm, and they usually have a roommate, and more often than not it's just a homeless guy. When I went to my first psych ward, my roommate was a homeless fella who, when I talked to him, he asked me, yeah, what's your name? And I said, my name's Dalton. What's your name? He's like, yeah, they call me New York. And I was like, your name is New York? And he goes, well, my name's Leroy, but some folks call me New York, which is kind of a shitty nickname. It's just the name of the entire state. Um, so you have your roommate, and you're not allowed to go anywhere. So it's like the only kind of like space that you have to walk around and explore or anything is just your room and then a couple hallways. So I found myself when I was in the first psych ward, just walking out of my room down the hallway, take a right down that hallway, turn around, and then make that path again. And I would just do that over and over and over and over again, wondering when am I going to actually talk to a doctor, because there is only one doctor and he only comes around whenever he feels like it. Everyone else is either an orderly of some kind, or some college kid trying to get like a class credit, or maybe or a social worker. And then once in a blue, some guy comes in with a lab coat, and he's got his pocket protector and clipboard, and that's the actual doctor. And so they have like this cattle call where he sits in the office with the social worker, and one by one they have all the patients come in to do a little interview with them to see like what's going on, and if it's okay for them to leave, or like what further treatments do they need. But you only ever get to talk to a doctor just when, I don't know, whenever he feels like coming in. And the conversations are just like very curt and don't seem to be particularly helpful in any way. And any no matter what, it's not like let's say you're just like totally fucked up, like in a way that you can't function on the outside. They're not like they're gonna get to a point where they just like can't have you there anymore because that service doesn't exist. Reagan gutted that in the 80s. So now these places like that like presumably are meant to house these sorts of people who just like can't function in polite society, can only hold you for like maybe a couple, like 2 or 3 weeks at the most, and then they just spit you out and they're like, figure it the fuck out. And then like those are just homeless people. Like that's what happens to homeless people, is like if you're homeless, which I am now. I live in a box car. I'm actually recording in the lobby of a Days Inn because they have their Wi-Fi set to guest, and I just try to make it look like I'm on some sort of official business. I get a Danish and like a small coffee when I come in here. But yeah, I mean, if you're homeless, more often than not, that's just like a mental thing. It's not due to any like necessarily any laziness or unwillingness to work. It's just that you're like crazy. You're out of your mind. Like I've been there. Like I've seen what homeless people act like, and it's just some guy like looking over his shoulder and just like chirping at himself or yelling at some lady on the subway, or it's like the synapses in their brain misfired and they're not functioning. And there used to be like systems in place where people like that could just like check themselves into a mental hospital and they get like whatever treatment they needed for however long they needed it. And then, Reagan came around, and then it was like, well, no such thing as a free lunch. Get the fuck out of here. Go figure it out. And now, now homelessness is rampant, and I'm experiencing it. I'm homeless. I'm $400,000 in debt. But I'm still the first billionaire podcaster, the Daniel Plainview of podcasting. YouTube.com/at cornfed with Dalton Pruitt, Patreon.com/cornfed with Dalton Pruitt, iTunes, Spotify, rate, review, subscribe. But the experience of being in a psych ward feels like psychological torture, because it's like you feel like you're in like a sort of prison. Like you have a cellmate, and then it's like this shared bathroom thing where in your dorm, uh I guess there is a bathroom, but it's one of those toilet, like just like those stainless steel toilets with no lid on it. So it's just like you're just pressing your bare cheeks against just a pissy like cold metal toilet to take a dump. And then and it's got I will say about those toilets, they have a powerful flush, very impressive flush on them, the metal prison toilets. But and the worst thing of it all is like nobody gives you any sort of timeline on like what's going on, what kind of like when you might be getting out of there, and you're not allowed to go outside, so you're constricted to just like these four walls. And there might be a group activity every now and then where like one of the college kids who's trying to get his credit gathers everybody, and like they go for like a walk around the courtyard. But other than that, you're just like twiddling your thumbs, whiling away the hours, wondering like when am I going to get out of here? And the whole time, like whatever's going on, like with me, it was, psychosis. So I was under all these like crazy delusions, and I thought I was talking to God, and I was invincible, and you know the the government was going to put a bunch of money in my bank account at some point, like all this religious shit. And you know and so they talk to you, and they're like, the only methods that they like offer to like really treat any of this is these like pharmaceuticals. So it's like, for a lot of people, I suppose, in like those situations, the main drug would be lithium, which has been around forever. Funny story about lithium is that, like, there's a lot of like water reserves around the country that actually have natural lithium deposits in them. Like where I grew up in the like DFW area, there's a little town outside of DFW called Mineral Wells, and they bottle a water you can buy on the shelves at grocery stores around Texas called Crazy Water. It's a still mineral water, and it comes in different varieties. You got number two, number three, number four. And number four feels like you're drinking the Alex Mack puddle. Remember that show Alex Mack? Like, she was this like teenage girl that got into some sort of like some goo fell on her. She got into some sort of like science accident, and she had powers, and so she could turn into like a metal, like a T-1000 metal puddle. Uh, there's a lot of things that turn into puddles. There was a lot of things in pop. There was a time when like metal puddles were really popular. It was like Alex Mack, the T-1000, and then all the people in those early Capri Sun commercials. That was a big deal. I remember the first time I ever had a Capri Sun. I saw the commercials, and I saw that if you drink a Capri Sun, you turn into a metal, like a Silver Surfer type looking thing, and you could turn into a puddle and then take on a human form and fly around and all that shit. And then I finally I begged my mom. I was like, I gotta try this Capri Sun. Like, this looks awesome. And I drank it, and I forget which flavor it was, but it didn't matter because it was, I just what I just wanted to turn into a metal puddle. So I drank a Capri Sun, and I'm like waiting, like, when do I turn into a puddle of metal? And it never happened. And then I started crying because that was like the when I first realized, like, I'm being lied to by these like advertising companies and corporations. I was like, I saw the commercial. I saw what happens when, like, what's supposed to happen when you drink a Capri Sun. I turn into a puddle of metal, and then I become a Silver Surfer, and I fly through the air with my friends. And I'm just like waiting and waiting, like, all right, when do I turn into a puddle of metal? When do I get to fly around on the beach? Never happened. And I just start crying and screaming at my mom, telling her, like, I think you got the wrong flavor. I think you have the wrong flavor of Capri Sun, and now I'm not a puddle, like a puddle of metal, and now I'm very upset right now. So that was the thing back in the day. There was a lot of like metalloid, like malleable things that metal things that could turn into puddles and various other forms. So, and Alex Mack was one of them. She could turn into a puddle of metal. And the crazy water number four feels like you're drinking that. Feels like you're drinking the Alex Mack T-1000 Capri Sun person puddle of metal, is how I would describe it. It's got a very like tangible feel in your mouth. Like, it feels like you're swishing around mercury. And the that water, the crazy water, is one of the mineral, like bottled mineral waters that actually has like a lithium content in it. Because in the town of Mineral Wells, like where this water reservoir is, the legend goes that back in like Deadwood times, like I guess like the 1800s, there was a town. The town of Mineral Wells was like becoming a settlement, and there was this lady in the town who was out of her fucking mind, and she would go to this like well and start like drinking out of it, and it would seem to like calm her down in some way. Like she would drink this water and finally like smooth out. And this may be apocryphal, but this is what I've read. And so like this lady was like the town nut, but they realized like she goes and drinks this water, and like all of a sudden she seems to like be kind of functioning. So come to find out, like this water reserve in the town, like all this water has this like lithium count in it, and so it's like the that's why they call it crazy water, because it was the water seemed to cure being crazy. It's really good. I'm a big fan of mineral water, and you don't find a lot with lithium in it, but it is like a naturally occurring like alkaloid metal or something. Like what they're doing now is like mining for it to make like, I don't know, whatever goes in a Tesla and like computers and shit, which is like, I guess that's good, but really I think it's like just something that's supposed to be in your body. And now the only way you can really get it is either through like some sort of like pharmaceutical drug, or if you can find crazy water or whatever brands of water may have it. But when you're in the psych ward, that's kind of like the go-to medication is lithium. It's been around forever, and it's kind of been proven to work on like it, like bipolar and stuff like that. But then if you seem like you're still nuts or whatever, then they start like just trying to throw all this shit at the wall, SSRIs and Wellbutrin and Seroquel and all this other stuff, and it's like I don't think any of these like medications actually work. I've met tons of people who take this shit, and they don't seem to be doing well. Like they still seem, every person I've met that's on this stuff, they're like, they tell me like, Lexapro or Prozac or Zoloft or whatever, changed my life. Like I'm fine or whatever. And but then like you talk to them, it's like this person seems just like seems fucking miserable. Like they're miserable and anxious, and their dick doesn't work, and they're gaining weight, but somehow this like medication they're on like turn things around for them. I ain't buying it. I don't know. I don't think any of that shit works. I think it's all a scam. It's like these pharmaceutical companies made this stuff, and now they're just just trying to like make money on it, and that's the way they work. And but like these medications they haven't been around that long, only like a few decades, and nobody knows how they work or what's going on with them. And it's like, the certain percentage of people take them and they fucking kill themselves anyway. They finally like get motivated to kill themselves, or like whatever happens there. And then other people just like turn into zombies, which is like what happens to me if you well, what happens to me if you put me on an SSRI is like my dick doesn't work and I'm just kind of zonked out. And then after enough time, I go manic and I think I'm talking to God. Um, but that's like the main form of treatment in these sorts of like psych wards. It's like that. And then, there's like these group therapy sessions where it's like, another college student or some like sassy fat black lady just hands out crayons and has everybody do like a coloring sheet, like you're a kid at Olive Garden. And, like when you're a kid at Olive Garden and they bring you like a fun maze you can fill out with a crayon, that's group therapy at the psych ward. Except, everyone around you is talking about how they're being gang stalked, and some woman has like fresh cuts on her arms, even though it's like, how are you cutting yourself in here? There's nothing in this building. This building's like designed, like especially designed for you to not be able to do that. There's nothing in here that you should be able to cut yourself with, but they figure it out. You hear them as you're like trying to sleep or walking down the hall. You hear screams, shouts, shrieks as some poor woman is finding new and inventive ways to open her flesh. And yeah, those places don't really lend themselves to you ever like feeling that much better. And what what sucks is like if you're in that kind of more often than not, if you're in that kind of situation, you can't afford it. Like the people that find themselves in those like manic psychotic states and are like getting hit with like a 5150, which is involuntary hospitalization, and are like being put into these situations, like they can't really afford what's happening to them. And so like along with that, that just means like to receive any real care, you're just hit with like miles and miles of bureaucracy trying to navigate this system, like this weird healthcare system where it's like they I guess they like want to help, but then like there's no such thing as free healthcare, but there are like services in place where you can receive like the treatment in the psych ward and then like treatment afterward. But you just have to go through like miles and miles of bullshit and walk down several gray hallways in different hospitals trying to figure out like how this works. The whole thing is like drives you even more crazy. Like you're getting at every turn just trying to like get the help you need. You're just getting hit with like more and more paperwork, talking to more and more angry like Chicana ladies or Puerto Ricans or whoever's working the desk who like seem annoyed that you're there at the hospital. And then like you got to go in to talk to like the actual doctor after the psych ward, and she's like this like old angry Argentinian woman, Nazi probably. And it's just like every step of the way, it's just questionnaires and paperwork, bureaucracy, like all this. Like I don't even have help. I couldn't hold down a job. I don't have health care. I don't have any way to like navigate any of this. And it's like it all lends itself to you just going, well, fuck it. I don't want to fucking deal with any of this shit. And then you're just homeless. Then you're just living in a boxcar, recording podcasts in the lobby of the Days Inn. And the thing that sucks is like I was on and off all these different medications, and then just finally realized like I'm not taking any of this. Like none of this is work. I'm like getting obviously I'm getting fat as shit. I have no energy. My dick don't work. It doesn't matter. Nobody's gonna fuck me anyway. And 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 I just feel like there's like all this shit just swimming around in my bloodstream. So it's like I'm off of that now, and I'm like finally kind of like clear headed. Like I'm not catatonic anymore. And what sucks is like after all this has happened, I just like I finally have like my faculties back in some way, and I realize like the damage I've done to myself and my family and anyone that cared about me, like the sheer amount of like pain and suffering and just like money this has cost is like a lot to deal. And the time that I've lost, the time that like my loved ones have lost, like wondering if I'm going to be okay, it really bothers me. It's overwhelming. It makes it difficult to like do things, even though I do have to become the first billionaire podcaster. But it's yeah, it's a lot to like contend with, because it's like there's people that care about me, and there's people who I've had a lot of like support, uh just unconditionally, that I don't understand like why anyone would support me. Even like now, I've recently like started showing my face on the internet again for some reason. I guess like honestly to make money, but I'm amazed that anyone would should like support me at this point. It's tough for me to accept the fact that like I started like doing stuff like this again, and like making it known like, hey, I'm alive, and I'm trying to like I guess still, I don't know, entertain people, or at least post things hoping that I get money from it. And it's amazing to me that anyone would still like support me in any way. I know that like I was in New York and I made this like splash, you know, and it's not like I was ever anything like I don't think anybody ever really saw me do stand up. There's not a lot of that that exists on the internet, and anyone who ever saw me do it just saw it in a live setting. So it's like what people know of me in terms of like my creative output was just a podcast appearances, which is a skill in itself. It's broadcasting, so it's like I'm glad that people appreciate that sort of thing. And I was given these opportunities that a lot of people trying to do what I was doing don't get, and I'm very grateful for that because it did like made me. I was part of. I felt like part of a community, and it allowed me to establish some sort of like foothold in the internet that now I hope I can use to leverage and rebuild my life. I mean, I'm starting over from a worse position than I ever have been, but yeah, it's weird. Like I've had a lot of people like reach out and just tell me like, yeah, we've been waiting on you to like start doing stuff again. Glad you're back. And that is that's crazy to me because I'm not a good person at all. I've spent my whole life telling myself I was, but then every step of the way, just like, you know, uh manipulating people and talking about them behind their back and just trying to like figure out some way to get ahead and doing things for my own benefit and presenting this and then at the same time like trying to maybe also be a good person, like presenting this air of like, no, I'm actually like a good, well-read guy who cares about people and I'll talk to anyone about anything. But then my real motivations are just like I just want to make myself feel better. Like everything I'm doing is just like it's just making the effort to not even like really connect with anyone for just to have those connections, but just like I just want to feel better, whether it's like financially or emotionally or whatever. Like everything I'm doing is transactional and manipulative in some way. And I'm just trying to like make myself feel okay. I guess I realize that now. Um, and maybe that's how most people are. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just like, what if Patrick Bateman was a big fat dumb gay idiot? Uh that was that would be a good book. That'd be good movies, like American Psycho, like white trash American Psycho, where just I wake up every morning and put in two Zen pouches and start vaping. Then I have a cup of Nescafe instant coffee because I'm too lazy to make regular coffee. Then I then I eat two toaster strudel scramblers. White trash Patrick Bateman. It's like then after I have my toaster strudel scramblers, I put in two more Zen pouches. I keep a rotation of Zen pouches throughout the day, even though I can't really afford this habit. Um, I work for the offices of the Home Depot. Yeah, that's me, dude. Just some white trash, Patrick Bateman. Yep. Yeah. You know something, Paul? The funny thing about the music of Tim McGraw is I don't know why that was my go-to for white trash music. I don't know. Tim McGraw was always like he was like a pop country guy. That was did he have that? There's a song from when I was a kid that is really stupid and it plays in my head all the time because of how dumb it was. And it was on the radio all the time in the South. I don't know. Here it is. Alan Jackson, www.memory. Y'all ever listen to that one? Yeah, I think it goes www.memory. I just remember hearing that on the radio all the time, and even then thinking this is really stupid. But I guess it was like Yeah, I guess it was like at the time that the internet was like really starting to become more ubiquitous. Like, because the song came out in the year 2000, so like the internet had been around, but it was like, um, you know, up till that point, it was a lot. I think a lot of people thought it was like just going to be this fad, or nobody knew what it was. And then by then, I think people realized it was like really blowing up and was going to like change the world. Um, so it looks like, I guess Alan Jackson decided to capitalize on the internet craze at the time with a song called www.memory. And it plays in my head every day because it was just on the radio all the time. It was one of those like just huge like country hits that you would just be sitting at a steakhouse with your family, and it would come on www.memory. Um, it was that, and then what was the Kid Rock and Sheryl Crow? I put your picture away. That one rocks. I like that one a lot. There was a time when like Kid Rock now is like kind of this like self parody. He's like not putting out too much good shit. But there was a time when Kid Rock was really killing it, and I think like the pinnacle of that was him and Sheryl Crow with I put your picture away. I just called to say I love you. Come back home. That rocks. That's a good one. I did that at karaoke a few times with the boys. Never had a girl who would sing it with me. So I always ended up singing it with just another dude. Um, yeah, I miss those days. Now it's like, you know, the hot country song now is the Richmond north of Richmond, which is a good grift because it's like, if you hate your job and you're working down south, you hate your job, and it's like you're just spinning your wheels trying to figure out like what's a good way to like get out of this game. Like, how can I like really just do something to make a bunch of money real quick? It's like just do a song complaining about your life and just make it seem like somehow political in some way or philosophical or whatever. And make it topical, but it's like not a good song, but it's at least topical. It's vaguely political, and it has like enough whiff of like religion in it to appeal to like the entire middle of the country. And it touches on like all the stuff that people are like talking about, labor and wages and all that. So it's like the irony of it is like, like this guy's talking about like being broke or whatever, working a shitty job in that area. And so he does this song, and then now he's one of the rich men, the rich men. He has become the thing he hates. He now liveth inside the gilded cage. As Rush, I think it was Rush who talked about the gilded cage. Um, one must put a barrier to keep oneself in check. Living in the limelight, the universal dream for those who wish to see, those who wish to be, must put aside the indignation, get on with the fascination, the real relation, the underlying dream, the underlying dream. There wasn't a mention of a gilded cage in anything I just said. I just sang. I know it's. What is the lyric? God damn it! What's the lyric in the song where they mention that? Limelight lyrics. Living on a lighter state approaches the unreal. For those who think and feel in touch with some reality beyond the gilded cage. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's the shit right there. That's the good stuff. Yeah, I never got to. It's a bummer. I never got to see them live. That would have been cool. You know, a lot of people when they talk about Rush, they focus on just Neil Peart, Pert. They focus on him because he had like the biggest drum kit in the world, and he was, obviously one of the best drummers ever. And it's like a lot of people just tend to like focus on him, and then there's a lot of people who are like, okay, Neil's great, and then also you got Geddy Lee, who's incredible. He's playing bass, he's playing the synthesizer, and then he's singing with the voice of like a dying bird that to me sounds cool. I've always enjoyed the just the sort of like idiosyncrasies of like the way that he approaches singing. Idiosyncrasy is a good way to put to phrase the fact that he doesn't really know how to sing that well. Um but then nobody talks about really how great Alex Lifeson is as a guitarist, which is crazy because if you listen to like most, like all of their compositions, dude, he's fucking shredding on this music. And but then people like don't really talk about him that much as like part of the band. Everybody focuses on Neil, either Neil or Getty. Those are like the two main ones. And then Alex is just kind of over there, with his thumb up his ass. But it's like, no, he's fucking incredible. Same thing happens with you know, Primus. It's like with Primus, everybody goes on and on about Les Claypool, who was amazing. And everybody focuses on Les, but then you've also got Tim Alexander on drums, fucking banging away, killing it. But then like what Larry Lalonde is doing on guitar is like mind blowing. It's crazy what he does in that music. I've seen him live a few times, and it's just like the whole band just is like cohesively, like each one of them is a virtuoso. It's crazy, but that's you know the tragedy of the power trio is there's always going to be one who's also a genius that and no one even recognizes. You know, that's why I really like the Melvins because it's like really the Melvins are really just two guys. It's well, no, I shouldn't say that, but it's like the core, the spine, the core, the heart and soul of the band are Buzz, King Buzzo, and Dale Crover. King Buzzo guitar, lead vocals, Dale Crover on drums, and then their bass player is different for a lot of the time. It's like they've gone through probably like 20 different bass players over the years. So it's like as a power trio, they just have this like revolving door of bass players. So that really keeping people on their toes with that one. But it's like that's another band that is an interest, it's an interesting group because it's like they kind of like never really got their due, even though they like kind of paved the way for a lot of like what would become like the biggest music ever. It's just like they never really like hit that big because their music is so weird a lot of the time. But that's another group I've seen live a few times, and Buzzo is just fucking shredding on stage, and Dale is just an incredible drummer. And then whoever they got on bass is amazing. One time I saw them live, and they had two bass players. They had Jeff Pincus from the Butthole Surfers and Stephen McDonald, who is still their current bass player, and he's from the bands Off and Red Cross. That was a cool show. I like Butthole Surfers a lot too. I really love that album. Locust Abortion Technician. That's a fun one. But I'm not particularly like well versed in music. I'm not like a I'm no Anthony Fantano. I just like a bunch of different shit. It's fun to talk about every now and then, but I don't know shit about music. I was in marching band in high school, and then I was in the jazz band But I was never that good at it, and I never knew what was going on. And there were like all these times that the band director would try to like explain to us like the music theory and stuff like that, and it was so far beyond me. I was like, I have no clue. What are you talking about? I don't get this. And it's also like gay music theory, because it's like some of the best musicians don't even like, they don't even understand music. They can't read it, and they don't like, they just like have that innate talent. I guess they could just like feel it or whatever. And then like all the people that are like really into music theory and stuff like that, like these really technical people, it's like the stuff they do is like impressive. It's good, but there's like no real soul to it. Like there's this guy, I watch him all the time on YouTube. Some like Japanese dude. What's his name? Ichika Ichika Nito. Ichika Nito. He's like an autistic Japanese guy, and he posts like all these like guitar videos of him, and he's just like, the stuff he's doing on guitar is like really impressive, but it's also like kind of like um not enjoyable or kind of soulless in some way. It's fun to watch just to see like how fast he's moving and like what he's sounds he's making, but it's like I wouldn't listen to like a full album of this shit. Just some like he's like, you know, those like you know those like you hear those stories of like those Korean like StarCraft 2 farmers, like those Korean kids that just like sit in a room for 16 hours playing StarCraft, and they're like the best in the world at it. And like that's all they do is just like sit in a room, play StarCraft, and drink Red Bull, and then like piss their pants. It's like this guy's done that with guitar. He just like sits there all day, autistically like playing this guitar, and now he's like really like technically proficient at it. But the music, like the stuff that he does, like the music he makes, is not like, you know, there's not a lot of groove to it or a lot of soul, and it's like one of those things where it's like, just because you can play a lot of shit really fast or hit like all these notes or whatever, that doesn't mean it's like particularly good. You know, it's like the best music a lot of the times is just like simple and has like some sort of feel or groove to it. You know, I think about that all the time with like the Peps, the Chili Peppers, because you know they're writing for the song. Because it's like if you look at a guy like John Frusciante, who's like an incredible guitar player, and like if you listen to his solo work, you definitely can hear like what he's like truly capable of. But then if you listen to the Peps, Chili Peppers, he like pairs it down for them. Like he's writing like to make like rock and roll kind of like pop, you know, fun music. And so it's like they're approaching it from the point of view of like, we're not trying to like show off in any way. You know, like we're not trying to show you that like we're like technically proficient. We're trying to make just like fun, cool music. And they do. And the interesting thing about that group is that Kiedis can't sing. I mean, it's weird because like you watch them live and it's like, okay, you got John on guitar killing it, Flea's killing it, Chad's killing it on drums. They're all, you know, amazing musicians, and then Kiedis comes out and he just cannot fucking sing. But I think I finally like, have put my finger on it. He's got vibes. Kiedis. He's not a particularly good singer, and he's very like uh you know, as a performer, he's just kind of like either just like standing there holding the mic in the stand, or maybe he'll, you know, he takes his shirt off and does like dumb dances everywhere. And it's like, I'm watching him and I'm like, this is good, but I don't know why. And I figured out he just has vibes. He just has that, like, whatever that is, that sort of electric thing in him where it's just like, oh, I see what he brings to this band. He's got the vibes. He's got the vibes of a that you can only get when you lose your virginity at 12 years old and then fuck a teenager when you're 24 years old. Those vibes. Um, I guess this is like the music show now. I don't know. I try not to like. act as though I'm like an expert in music, anything. You know, I'm not. Hey, look, I'm no Pantano. I'm no Nardwar. Okay. Kiedis, Anthony Kiedis, we're here, and thank you for coming to Vancouver, British Columbia. You fucked a 14-year-old. And then he turns the mic to Kiedis. He's just like, what? Where'd you learn that? How'd you find that out? Uh, my voice for Kiedis is like a black guy, I guess. Damn, Nardwar. It's me, Anthony Kiedis. How'd you know I fucked a teenager? Well, you're Anthony Kiedis. We have to know that. Also, you put it in your fucking book, you idiot. Yep. Nardwar is good. It's like I've said for a while now that's like the sort of yin and yang of music review guys is like Fantano versus Nardwar. Fantano's the worst. He's the darkness, the devil, and then Nardwar he's an angel. He's great. He's the best because he just a ray of positivity. And then Fantano's a guy pushing 40 who's still trying to be like hip and doing whatever he's doing. I don't know. I still watch him. I don't know why. I hate him. I find him like his personality is grating. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like anything he has to say. But then I still am just like pouring through hours of videos of Anthony Fantano, like bitching about Olivia Rodrigo or whatever. And I don't know why. I guess I'm sucked up into the content mill. Damn, this is a sleepy one. This is a sleepy one. Like I said, I started this at 3:33 because I couldn't stop thinking about the psych ward. And now I'm bitching about Anthony Fantano with his dumb fucking glasses. Just get regular glasses. Um, yeah. I hope I never have to go back to that place. I don't ever wanna feel like I did. Living in the psych ward. Whatever. That didn't make any sense. Um, but yeah, I'm not taking any medications now. I don't believe in them. I think if you're on them now, go ahead, roll the dice, stop taking them. Maybe you throw yourself in front of a bus. Maybe your dick starts getting hard again. Who knows? It's a win-win if you think about it. It's like you finally, either way, you get what you wanted, which is like if if you've been depressed for a while, it's like I want to die, you know. So if you if you throw yourself in front of a bus, you're dead. But then if your dick gets hard again, you realize, oh, I missed having a big hard penis. I'm ready to live again because I want to use this. I want to put this inside of a warm hole, and that's fun. Now you finally found your zest for life again because your penis is all big and hard once again. So that go ahead, stop taking your Zoloft. Take it from me. Take it to give it away now.